You are now tuned in to Go Time Dolphins with Charlie Touche and Kadeem Simmons, the Miami Dolphins podcast that's for the fans and by the fans.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Don't waste no time.
It's week 10. We are playing the LA Rams on Monday Night Football. And if you are watching on YouTube, then you will notice that I am not joined by Mr. Charlie Touche this week, as I say, as always, but a lot more frequently, and I'm loving it so much. I am joined by 5YardLee from the DolFan UK podcast. Lee, how are you?
Doing well, but just making sure that we keep it nice and late so it feels like Charlie's on.
Yeah, you know, like just because Charlie's not here doesn't mean we got like UK time. Like we both have lives. I'm currently watching Dexter season 1 with the wife. We kind of said, hey, just have a Dexter watch along. So yeah, just some quick housekeeping. I don't do the intro when Charlie's not here. That's Charlie's thing. I'm not going to try and get into it. But as mentioned on our last episode and via final confirmation Friday afternoon, Monday, when we play the Rams, there will be a live watch along, not only here on Go Time Dolphins, but on the DraftKings Network. So, it's an amazing achievement. It's something we could not have done without every single watcher, commenter, subscriber. Your support over the last few years have allowed us to be picked up by DraftKings for this watch along. So, yep, we will be live on YouTube, not only on Go Time Dolphins, but on DraftKings. So head on over to DraftKings on Monday, leave a like, leave a comment, and we shall hopefully see you there. Lee, we speak basically daily. Like, there's just no debate about that. We obviously spoke after the Buffalo defeat. First and foremost, let's get your thoughts on that before we turn to week 10.
I thought it was a great performance. I know the result wasn't what you wanted. I think if we'd seen that performance week 2, even coming out with a loss, we would have been pretty happy. We would have said, hang on, they're going toe-to-toe with the Bills. So I think there's a lot of positives to take. I know we need to start putting wins on the board, but I think you come out with a second good performance in a row, and I thought one of Tua's best performances because of the balance, not just lighting up the scoreboard or the box score with personal numbers, but I thought the balance of the offense and the command he's had the last 2 weeks had led, to better and better performances. So I took a lot of good stuff out of it. I think most people were in the camp of probably not going to win heading to Buffalo. So I think there was a little bit lower expectation in that regard. But yeah, came out pleasantly surprised with how complete I thought the performance was. Minus getting the win. I mean, what's that, 2 weeks in a row now? The offense had left the field with the lead.
Yeah. Cap for Life says gentlemen, and then he adds moral victories do not count. And yeah, moral victory do not count. There's no getting away. But I think again, as Lee was saying, one of the things, and Coach said it prior to the Buffalo game, that in some of these losses against some of the quote unquote bigger teams, they've been like 1-score games. Because obviously they're in Germany, you lose a 1-score game. In Buffalo that time where Behemoth has an amazing game, 1-score game. The playoff defeat, 1-score game. Listen, you would 1-score game losses, you want to turn them into wins. Cap says, at our very best, we cannot beat the elite. The organization is hoping the injuries we've endured come back during the season to help the team. And I half agree with this because, again, it's at our best, we cannot beat the elite, apart from when we beat the Ravens and apart from when we beat Buffalo. And they are, I've just named 2 victories there. There's obviously more defeats and stuff. But, I think it's very easy to look at the losses and go, we can't beat the bigger teams. And then when you point out the victories, it's like, oh, but they don't count. No, they count. the wins can't just as much as the losses. But listen, Buffalo is behind us. We head into Monday Night Football against the LA Rams. The game where Tua made his full debut. A bit of trivia. I'm sure you know this, Lee. Tua's first touchdown, who was the receiver?
Oh, no. You put me on the spot and I can't think of it. Oh, was it to a tight end?
It was not to a tight end.
Crap. I don't fucking know. Nah. I drew a complete blank.
Devontae Parker.
Should have known that.
Devontae Parker. It's like a quick slant. And it's funny, like the touchdown, when it's thrown, everyone just like the anticipation, the timing. Devontae Parker hadn't even really got out of his break before the ball was basically on his body. So, yep. Tua's first full game was against the Rams. We got them on Monday Night Football. Cap says 0-11 v winning teams. Yeah, 0-11 against. Didn't we beat Dallas last year when they win the team when you beat them? I'll have to double check that. I'm pretty sure. And listen, if it's 1-11 or 1-12, then cool. Like I said, we beat. I don't know. It's a difficult one. But anyway, we have the Rams this week. So yeah, first and foremost, is this where the comeback starts, Lee?
It has to be, doesn't it? I don't think there's no time left to be putting the losses up on the board. So you're running out of excuses if you get Zach Sealer back in the defense. You've got most of the offense. I know Tyreek's popped up on the injury report today, but you know the back end of the schedule has softened significantly from what it looked like in the preseason. So yeah. This is time to get going. There can't be any more. Hey, we played great football, but didn't come out of it with the result we wanted. Now it's just find a way. Doesn't matter how.
Yeah. We face a Rams team which. I'm sorry. So I'm 11 v winning teams. I was checking something when we beat the Rams, but I meant to be when we beat the Cowboys. So. Bear me 2 secs. Okay, yeah, I will double check that stat for you, Cap. But yeah, like I think I'm very pedantic, when it comes to stuff like, must-win games. Like, well, if you lose and you're not at the playoffs, then it's not a must-win game. Like every single week in the NFL is a must-win game. You never want to be behind the 8 ball, but no, I'm very much a case of. This is probably the most must-win game the Dolphins have until they're mathematically out of the playoffs. Because yeah, like you said, you are running out of time for when you can. So you're running out of losses basically. You lose another one, and you basically have to go the rest of the season undefeated. So yeah, you don't want to basically. The Dolphins have no more wiggle room at all. And yeah, it'll be interesting. Sorry, 2 secs. When the Dolphins beat Dallas last season, the Cowboys were 10-4. The Dolphins put them 10-5. So at the very least, the Dolphins beat the Cowboys last year with a winning record. So, and to be fair,
just out of interest, how many teams on the schedule remaining have a winning record? One?
I would double check that as well. I'm looking back end of last season. And it's interesting as well because, you're looking at 0-11 v winning teams, but the Chargers, like we beat the Chargers who were 0-0 just like us. Like, there's not much you can do when you're facing these teams. Like, I think the Bengals wins this season are all against teams that are like 2-7 at the moment. The Bengals have only beaten bad teams with losing records, but no one says that. So yeah, it looks like last season I think the Dolphins literally only beat teams with losing records when they played them. I can't imagine the Patriots in week 8 would have had a winning record, same way the Commanders in week 13 or the Paper Planes in week 15. I think the Cowboys are the only team that the Dolphins beat with a winning record. But right now, give me beating teams with losing records over anything because we're not winning games. So, yeah, the Rams on Monday, Cap says we have to score 30 plus. I somewhat disagree, but I don't even disagree because I don't think the Rams will cause us as many problems, or I hope the Rams don't cause us as many problems as teams have in the last few weeks. I think getting Zach Sealer back will be a massive, massive help. And it also looks like the Dolphins are starting Anthony Walker over David Long Jr. What do you make of that change in starter, I guess, this season?
I thought it was really interesting. Bold move. Obviously, Coach Weaver's seen something that he likes more out of Anthony Walker than David Long. But also, I wonder if it's a motivational thing where he thinks David Long can elevate his game a little bit more, and he's trying to use this as a coaching method of getting it out of him. I don't know. It's an interesting one. I did think on Sunday it was a strange one because it kind of altered the spine of the defense, didn't it? With Sealer out, David Long being taken out of the lineup, and Javon missing at safety as well. You know, you kind of removed the middle of the defense, but yeah, interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, just say I know I'm kind of all over the place. So you asked me earlier if we're playing teams with losing records or winning records. The Raiders, so the Rams are 4-4. We got them on Monday. The Raiders are 2-7, losing record. The Pats are 2-7, losing record. The Packers are 6-3.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a Thanksgiving game?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm definitely watching that. I was watching it anyway, but I'm like, Hippodrome. That's a Hippodrome game, 100%. The Paper Planes are 3-6, losing record. The Texans are 6-3, winning record. 49ers are 4-4. The Cleveland Browns are 2-7. So yeah, the only teams with a winning record are the Packers and the Texans, and the 49ers potentially might. So yeah. So I can see why people say it's the easy part of the schedule because even the Packers don't look that good. The Texans just lost to the Paper Planes. So,
but the funny thing about it was, though, preseason it was supposed to be a hard end to the schedule. Now it doesn't look that way. Now, if the Dolphins, let's play hypotheticals. If the Dolphins find a way to win a bunch of these games, it'll be if they beat teams with bad records.
Oh, yeah, 100%, yeah.
But that's all you've got on the schedule, then that's all you can do. They've also lost to some bad teams. So
yeah, it's, I'm looking outside of, let's be fair, Buffalo, you lose by more than, one score. Seattle lose by more than one score. Tennessee, more than one score. But the Colts, one score. And then we know that happens against the Cardinals and the Bills. And the Rams are, again, in the nicest way possible. They're there for the taking. Their season's, again, that similar crossroads. Not as bad as us because, obviously, they've won 4 games. But you look at their results this season, and it's, they start off 0-2, losing to the Lions in overtime, then the Cardinals, and they got battered by the Cardinals 41-10. They beat San Fran, no idea how to do that, 27-24. But then they lose to the Bears, and again, the Bears aren't good this season. They lose to the Packers, had their bye week. But again, they've beaten the Raiders week 7, losing record. The Vikings, we've had a great win, and then they just beat Seattle in overtime. So again, it's 2 teams who need wins, and you speak about their schedule as well. They've got us, they've got the Patriots, they've then got Philadelphia, Saints, Buffalo, 49ers. So to them, it's a difficult game against Miami, but then short week, you've got the Patriots. And why is that at 10 a.m.? Why is New England Patriots against the Rams November 17th at 10 a.m.? November 17th is a Sunday. But why 10 a.m.?
No idea
why?
I have no idea.
That's confusing me. And it definitely says 10. It's in. No, that's a question for another day. I've confused myself there. But no, back to Dolphins, back to Rams. Let me see if I can get our injury report up very quickly. Also, Cap, I don't know if you heard earlier, I don't know if you're still here, but Monday we are doing a live watch along over on the DraftKings Network. So I know obviously you'll be watching the game, but we would greatly appreciate if you could join us over on the DraftKings YouTube channel for a live watch along. It's going to be a lot of fun. Basically, Go Time Dolphins on DraftKings. It is quite the achievement. There is no, the Dolphins on their website haven't given a update to their injury report. We won't know ins and outs until probably Saturday night. But it looks like it doesn't look too bad. A friend of the podcast, Javon Holland, spoke today, said that it will be a game time decision about his knee. Friend of the podcast, Austin Jackson, it's likely that he's not going to play. I tagged you on this in the Dolphins UK group. I don't know if you saw it, but apparently Patrick Poole is being tested at right tackle. Lee,
You're just testing me now.
Lee, what do you think about the Dolphins looking at Patrick Poole at right tackle because Austin Jackson could be out?
You know my feelings on this. Like, man, I would just love to see him just continue to stay at left tackle. Like, he is a project. There is a goal, and it's not necessarily to play a lot this season. Like, he's come in and he's played some decent snaps as well. But the goal here is to have him as a long-term replacement for Teron Armstead. And some players deal well with switching sides, and some players deal with it poorly. I think we had the conversation on here before. I don't think it's done Liam Eichenberg any good at all to keep switching positions. And I'm sure people will just say that he's not a very good player. But he was one of the players that early on in his career was asked about changing positions and stated how hard it would be. You know, you don't ask too many other players to just change positions just because. And it irks me in the draft when, you see draft analysts saying, oh, this guy projects well at tackle. Well, he's never played tackle. So why does he project well when he's not only stepping up in quality, but now taking on, the best players, and he's got to learn a new position? What makes him project well? Because it doesn't work out that often. In fact, it works out less often than it works out. So, I don't know. It makes me a little queasy to think that. I understand you want to get your best five out there, but I don't know. Don't know if that's the first route I would go.
I can imagine it's probably because I don't know how many offensive linemen the Dolphins dress on a week-to-week basis. So it's probably a case of, okay, if I don't know, because it's probably because you're probably going to start Kendall Lahm, but it's like, you know what? If something happens to Lahm, who's next man up? And it's probably Liam Eichenberg at right tackle, but then it's like, okay, what do you do at guard? So, like, you know what?
So in that instance, yeah, maybe Patrick Poole is worth at least prepping for the possibility that you're going to have to fill in some sort of backup capacity. But I don't think training him to start there and then having him possibly play multiple games at that position is a good idea. But rather than moving another player and creating that problem that you see so often in the NFL where someone says, hey, this guy's down, so I'm going to move another player on the offensive line to his spot, and then put another guy in where so now you've changed two of the five positions to cover for one guy. Do you know what I mean? Where you would rather, I think I would rather play somebody and know where I need to send the help.
Yeah.
Like, you may not be the best, that's fine. I just need you to do an adequate job, and I will give you as much help as possible. And Cap is absolutely right. The O-line has not been, they've been dumped on enough when they've been bad, but they need praise right now because they are playing some very good football.
Yeah, it's interesting because Cap said the O-line has been good. I 100% agree. And I think it's probably a case of, I think they've signed Ryan Hay to the practice squad. Obviously, drafted him. And I can imagine just a case of, okay, we've got Hayes, but if at worst case scenario we need you to play a few snaps here, we'd rather do that than have to move Eichenberg and kind of move things around. So yeah, shout out to Silent Writer says evening guys, and Cap says Holland has been a disappointment. I somewhat disagree. He's been injured the past few weeks, and he made a game altering fumble week 1. He had a quiet season by his standards, but I think that's more to do with him just not being on the field as much. But yeah, that's just my opinion.
Do you think the new system impacts?
Yeah, but again, I also think it's Holland's been fortunate enough to play in a Dolphins team which has had really good edge rushers and managed to get pressure to the quarterback. That hasn't happened this season. So quarterbacks are having more time to kind of stand in the pocket and make plays, and you can be the best DB in the world. After 5 seconds, a guy's just going to start running whatever way he feels is best, and there's nothing you can do about that. So, yeah, the safety spot has been suspect, but I put that down to more just the constant people at the back. You've had Marcus May come in, you've had Jordan Poyer in and out, you've had Holland in and out. You've also got Patrick Morris turning off IR, which again looked good in pre-season, but again it's asking a rookie who you took in the 7th round to come in and make impact play, who hasn't played all season. It's like, I feel like you're asking too much. I think what the Dolphins need is just some solid and consistent play from the defensive line. You've got Zach T in the back this week. Claire Campbell still playing amazing. Chuck Robinson, as you said on our phone call the other day, got humbled very quickly against Buffalo, made his first sack, and then immediately, had the offsides. But, I think if the Dolphins can continue to have consistent play on its defensive line, generate pressure, it should allow, guys like Ramsey, Kendall Fuller, and hopefully safeties to play even better than they have so far this season. Another one from me, as always. Are you worried at all that Tyreek Hill did not practice on Friday because he showed up on the injury report with a wrist injury?
I'd be worried if Tyreek Hill was not there Monday. I think we've seen plenty of times where Tyreek has missed practice, whether it be with a knock or for whatever reason, and he turns up and plays his game. If not, it's still an interesting opportunity because it gives Jalen Waddle the chance to kind of assume that number 1 role, which is interesting in itself. And against the defense that ranks in the bottom third of the NFL, against the pass and the run, this is a week to really get things back on track. We haven't really seen the passing game look the way it did last season. This might be the first opportunity for that to happen.
Yeah, it's interesting because you've really established a run game, and being able to lean on that. Obviously the pass game. It's just that some people don't quite get the targets that they would obviously like. But again, it's
the balance.
A good problem to have.
Oh yeah, but I think the balance is actually better. I think it obviously doesn't feel this way now. But the kind of silver lining of the games that Tua has missed is we have become a far more balanced team coming out of that situation. And I think it's actually helped the offense look good. I think that's what helped the offense go drive for drive with the Bills on Sunday. I know the Raheem Mostert fumble. I think it's safe to say it cost points because you're in Bills territory. The way the rest of the half went, you scored on every drive other than that one. And you did that because you were so balanced. And that's what opened up later in the game some of those big plays that we saw, to Tyreek Hill. That's because you're able to stay balanced when things were tougher early in the game.
Yeah, and I think it's also a matter of keeping the defense honest. I can imagine until a team knows how to really stop it, you'll probably see the exact same thing. And again, you mentioned, Tua had his best game, arguably in the NFL, against Buffalo on last Sunday, preceded by the really good game against the Cardinals. If it has to be a case that the Dolphins run more and you get a better quarterback play from Tua, I'm all for it, 100%.
I mean, it's not dissimilar from what the Bills have done with Josh Allen, right? Josh Allen's playing, as good a football as he's ever played, and the interception numbers are way down because they've become more balanced. Like, it's the way you'd like to be in the NFL. Yes, you want your quarterback to be able to carry you if necessary, but ideally, you want a team that's well balanced. How many times did we have conversations last year, or you saw it on social media, where we rely on Tyreek Hill too much? Yeah. We're forcible to Tyreek and Jalen too much. Well, this is what happens when you don't do that. You become more balanced.
And to be fair, the team were down last week. No final drive of the game for the Dolphins anyway. Tua led the team down the field and scored a touchdown. What more can you ask for? So, listen, I think the balance is fine. I think, people for the fantasy teams and, just in general can want more from receivers, tight ends and stuff like that. But listen, if Tua, and I remember having this conversation like in Tua's second season, people saying, he's not that good. And I was, because of his stat lines, and I was like, listen, if Tua wants to throw for 120 yards per game with 2 touchdowns, or even 1 touchdown, and the Dolphins win, couldn't care less. Like, I don't need 400 yards, 6 touchdown games. 1, it's not good for my heart. And 2, like, it doesn't mean anything. So if the Dolphins want to get back to basic, like how they beat the Rams last time, let me throw up Tua's stat line from that game. Let's have a look. 23, 22, 21, and then 20, the year that no one likes to remember because obviously it was COVID. LA Rams week 8 recap. 28-17 win. Tua goes. Funny enough, Jared Goff was the quarterback that game. Jared Goff that game, 35 completions, 61 attempts. And he goes 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Tua, on the other hand, 12 from 22, 93 yards, 1 touchdown.
Didn't he recover a fumble as well?
I think he spoke about it. I think they might have stripped a fumble off him.
Yeah, didn't Aaron Donald strip him early in the game?
Yeah, so I'm looking at...
I think he got recovered. I could be wrong.
Draft summary, punt, fumble, yeah. Tua sat, yeah, Tua, great. That's a great thing. So it's shotgun, Tua sacked for Miami 18 for -5 yards. Fumbles recovered by Leonard Floyd at Miami 15. The Rams scored a touchdown. I actually think Tua spoke about that as well. It was like, that was his first, yeah, there we go. Tua's debut game versus Rams, strip fumble, 32 career fumbles for Tua. Yeah, so I think Tua said that was his first, obviously first start, first touchdown, first third down, first strip fumble, which was returned for a touchdown. So yeah, let's have a look. First quarter, punt. This is like Rams punt, Dolphins fumble, Rams touchdown, Dolphins punt, Rams punt, Dolphins punt. And then you have a Rams intercepted by Christian Wilkins, funny enough. And then touchdown, 2-2, Devontae Parker for 3 yards. Then second quarter, you have Rams punt, Dolphins fumble. Friend of the podcast, Myles Gaskin fumbled the ball, but the Dolphins get the ball back. Touchdown. Funny enough, Jared Goff sacked. Ogba fumbles it, recovered by Andrew Van Ginkel for 78 yards, touchdown. Wow, amazing. And then we also had a Dolphins touchdown. It says Jakeem Grant, 88 yards, touchdown. But it might have been off a punt. So, yeah. No, listen. The Dolphins won. That's all that matters. Cap, I could definitely agree. cannot turn the ball over. Lee, what is your one key for victory for the Miami Dolphins?
I said on our podcast the other day, like I think it's
Hold on,
just
sorry.
continue
What podcast was that? For those who don't know,
the DolFan UK podcast. I said that I thought my main kind of key to victory is to just continue to stay balanced. I think this team is looking good, but also to just trust in what they're doing on defense. Like they're playing well for large periods of the games and then having these laps in concentration. Like I don't want to keep going back to the Bills game on Sunday, but at the same time, let me pose it to you this way: do you think the Bills won the game on Sunday, or did the Dolphins lose the game? Because when we talk about the Bills record versus the Dolphins, it's always the Bills pulling their pants down. Like we are, like the Bills come in and thoroughly beat the Dolphins. There's no two ways about it. But the game the other day felt like the Dolphins lost the game because you come off the field in front. Trot Robinson gets the sack to put them.
it was tied 27-27.
Sorry, 27-27. No, you're right. So, but Trot Robinson gets a stop on third down, only to jump on fourth down. And then we have the penalty at the end with Jordan Poyer. Do you know what I mean? To put them in field goal range and milk enough clock to make sure the Dolphins don't see the ball. Do you know what I mean? Those were two things that were absolutely controllable by the Dolphins. It had nothing to do with, like, Josh Allen getting Trot Robinson to jump is, you know, the Bills doing something. But realistically, if you're disciplined, that play doesn't happen. And you force the Bills to snap the ball on fourth down. Or punt it away. Do you know what I mean? They either snap the ball on fourth down in their end of the field, or so did the Dolphins lose the game, or did the Bills beat us? Because it seems like a significant bit of context, you know, when we talk about the record versus the Bills. And then Cap was right earlier. Moral victories absolutely don't count. They don't count in the stat column, but it does feel like a change. It feels like something was different in that game than. And I think it's something you need to take into this game because, you know, we mentioned it's, you know, all games now become a must-win.
Yeah, I definitely think the Dolphins lost the game. And again, it's me and you are very similar in this case of no game is lost by one singular moment, apart from it's like the final play of the game. But I do think the Behemoth's that fumble was a game-changing momentum shifter. Because again, I feel like up until that point, the Dolphins have done a great job of keeping the Bills quiet, and that fumble and the recovery kind of just gave life back to the Bills. And then obviously, yeah, the Jordan Poyer hit the penalty. The Dolphins will do a great job of stopping the Bills from, you know, basically getting to field goal range. To me, 61 yards is not field goal range. Like, you cannot convince me otherwise. But they got the job. They got the job done. That's all they can really ask for. So yeah, you know, it's a matter of, for me, it's just don't turn the ball over, because like I've said for a few weeks now, the Dolphins aren't generating loads of turnovers per game. Yes, you obviously had the Jalen Ramsey interception, and that's great. But this is like the last few years where, you know, even last year, Ramsey would get interceptions per game. You're getting, you know, you had Van Ginkel getting strip sacks and stuff like that. Ogba with his, you know, strip fumbles and stuff. So this isn't a team which is going to be, the defense is getting 2 to 3 turnovers per game, which again, no team does that. But you know what I mean? It's, you can normally bank on your defense to get one turnover, and the Dolphins have had that this season. But not enough consistently to overcome the shortcomings of the offense. And for 2 weeks in a row now, the Dolphins have turned the ball over at times where you really feel like the game was in their hands, and you can't do that on Monday, especially when the Dolphins do not do well in prime time as it is. So, yeah. Before we head into bonus time, Lee, what is your score prediction?
I think the Dolphins win 31-20.
I would love for the Dolphins to win as we are on the DraftKings Network, and there'll be nothing better than celebrating that with a dub. It's a dub already, but I want another one. I'm also going to go with a Dolphins win, even though, listen, my head is telling me it's a primetime game. The Dolphins are going to lose, and it's going to find an embarrassing way to lose. My heart is telling me never root against Dolphins unless they're playing the Bills. I'm going to go with a 27-23 victory for the Dolphins. And the fight will it'll be like 27-17 heading into the final drive. The Rams are going to score a touchdown, go for two, not make it. And yeah. And if that does come true, it will be so perfect that for me to put no money down on it. And it'd be on the DraftKings Network. So Lee, before we head to bonus time, tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me at 5YardLee on X, and you can find the podcast DolFan UK on all the social media channels and anywhere that you might listen to a podcast.
Yep, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, all the good places. Guys, obviously you know Charlie, so no amazing outro. Charlie will be back on Monday for the DraftKings episode over on the DraftKings Network. I'm going to keep on saying that. I want you all to be over there. Was that a shout out to Willie Bowen? He says LA Rams 34, Miami Dolphins 13. Oh, that'd be brutal. And then Cat for Life says 29-27 Miami. Something crazy is going to happen. We are due. Yes, we are. Guys, bear with us for 34 seconds exactly as the outro plays, and we shall see you very, very shortly. Peace.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's showtime. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's showtime. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Don't waste no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's showtime. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time.
As mentioned earlier, I'm going to keep on saying it for anyone new listening, for anyone who just joined us. On Monday, a live watch along Dolphins v Rams over on the DraftKings Network, the DraftKings YouTube channel. And yeah, that is the official DraftKings, the big boy DraftKings, the one that you place all your bets with. So yeah, Monday, not only will we be live, doing a live watch along of the game on Go Time Dolphins, where you guys are now, we will also be live on the DraftKings Network. So cannot wait for that. Lee, the trade deadline has come and gone. Again, I know we spoke about this over the phone, but that was not live, that was not recorded. Only me, you, and Hannah Montana could hear the conversation. And I'm sure, no, you was in your car, wasn't you, when you were speaking?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you make of the Dolphins being quiet at the trade deadline?
I was kind of okay with it because it gives you the maximum flexibility, I think, depending on the outcome of the season. I think it'd be really hard to have been sellers at the deadline, having seen the way this team's played in the last two. Because if they played the way they played the last two games in the four that Tua's not played in, I don't think we're even having a conversation about them being sellers. Yet they still would have lost to the Bills in the game in week 2, but I don't know. It just feels like there's. How many teams did you mention on the schedule coming up that we're about to play that have got 2 wins? A whole bunch of them. Mm. And they're all playing with a lot of their starting lineup. Like, not those teams aren't missing starting quarterback. We're there for one very obvious reason. And you can blame management for not having a capable backup. We can talk about how the drop-off between Tua and any backup is going to be kind of extreme because he has I think it's a pretty unique skill set. And I don't know how easy it is to find a backup that plays well in that. I think we've seen in the past if you can get a backup quarterback that matches well with the skill set of your starting quarterback, then it gives you a good chance to win. I think Tyler Huntley is a great backup for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
And that's why it worked in Baltimore, because the style of play that no one is Lamar Jackson. That's why he's one of the best in the NFL. But if you wanted to strip him down to budget Lamar Jackson, then you get Tyler Huntley. I don't know what budget Tua is, because I don't. If someone throws with the anticipation that he does or the accuracy that he does, they're generally a starting quarterback. So it's kind of difficult. And I think if you know he's coming back, it's also difficult to try and unpick the offense and make it for any of the other quarterbacks. So I don't know. It put them in a tough spot. I think there's so many winnable games ahead that I think they probably made the right decision to not invest assets in trying to chase and not have them available to you at the end of the season. And I think it was good not to be sellers, because there's still a path to having a semi-successful season. Do you know what I mean? There is a path to the wild card. That's not off the table with the talent you've got.
Yeah, I think, and again, I said this. I think I said this on Patreon. I'll say this. I said to you on the phone. I'll say this, for the first time now. I think the Dolphins not doing anything is not one of the first signs, but it could be a sign that the Dolphins are going to move on from Chris Greer. Do you know when his contract runs out? Because I can't find it anywhere.
No, I don't.
I legit can't see anywhere where he's A, signed an extension, and B, when his contract runs out. So, yeah, I think. Listen, the Dolphins, especially under Chris Greer, when he's had full control, have always done something at the deadline. Always. I think, shout out to Finn Dextra. I think he tweeted, this is the first time in 6 seasons the Dolphins have been basically silent on, trade deadline. And I think my thing could be, you don't want to give up a single asset or let a single person go. Even if you had a conversation with Calais Campbell, we said, hey, I'm under no circumstances coming back next year. Like, it's not going to happen. So actually, I want to leave now. I think even then, like, you don't get rid of anyone, because one, you never know what the future holds. And two, you want to give the next person, if there is a next person, every single tool available to them. So, hey, you have a full range of draft picks, and you have the current roster, which is, here's the guys under contract, here's the guy who are not under contract, in a few months and stuff like that. So, listen, I'm not saying that Chris Greer is going. I know, obviously, we have contacts in the team. Obviously, I'm good friends with the owner, Stephen Ross. He hasn't told me anything just yet. But yeah, I don't know. I just think them not doing anything at a team where, you're basically one loss away from having your season ended, and it's probably going to happen in the next few weeks.
Have you pitched yourself for the GM job?
No, but that's Charlie's job. Charlie will be GM, and in this role, I'm pretty good playing defense on Madden, so I would probably be the defensive coordinator.
Okay.
If not, then I'd probably be head of comms. Obviously, I get you and Simon out to the US if your families would allow it. And or some kind of senior VP role. I can basically hire all my friends to really cool jobs.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So whether you could be sideline reporter or something, that's up to you.
I got a bit of pushback on the Chris Greer thing, and I understand where you're coming from, but let me give a different opinion.
Of course.
I think you're right, you don't want to give up assets because you possibly want them for the next guy. But the only way you do that is if you decided there is a next guy. Because if not, you're just hamstringing the guy that you're about to ask, okay, so why didn't it go better this season? And then if you don't sack him, he's going to be like, well, why didn't I just spend these picks at the trade deadline?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that would kind of intimate that the Steve Ross has almost made that decision already and told him you can't use it, you can't use the assets. So I don't know. I'm just throwing another angle at it where I think if that happens, it probably means that decision has almost already been made, as opposed to it's coming at the end of the season. It's that would show that I think Steve Ross is saying, "Hey, you can't do this," and I don't think I think he gets involved, but Steve Ross is a fan of the team the way we are. Do you know what I mean? He's just lucky enough to have the money to own them. So obviously he's involved in all this stuff. But I think if he actually says, "No, you can't do this," that would be pretty damning.
I think, and again, both McDaniel and Greer have kind of said that, and even Drew Rosenhaus has said that the Dolphins in the weeks building up to the trade deadline were very, very active about trying to bring people into the building. They were, adamant they weren't going to be sellers. So at the very least, they tried. Me thinking Chris Greer might believe was more just like big galaxy brain stuff. The chances are Chris Greer will be here next year because, again, not that injuries are an excuse, but injuries are a valid reason as to why the Dolphins are 2-6 right now. And like I said before, shout out to the same old Dolphins guys. They said that at the start of the season, this was going to be a somewhat down year. You've lost some important people. You've got some big players coming back off injury. If you're expecting the Dolphins to, start the season about Phillips and Chubb and no Christian Wilkins, and just basically be absolutely amazing, then more for you. So listen, it's not the season we had hoped for, but as we keep on saying, this is the first bit of adversity that Mike McDaniel really had to face, and to fire him and Chris Greer because of it seems like overkill to me.
Yeah, it seems a little short-sighted to me as well. But let's say there's a lot to play for. Let's see where we stand in another 4 games or another 6 games, and then the end of the season. Then we've got the full picture to look at.
Yeah, definitely. Lee, we're going to hit you out of it. Once again, tell them where they can find you.
You can find me on all the social medias at 5YardLee, and the podcast, the DolFan UK podcast, is available on all your podcast outlets and the Miami Dolphins website.
That is so true. You can find us at Go Time Dolphins on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all of your social medias. And as I keep on mentioning, on Monday on the DraftKings Network, I will 100% speak to you before next Sunday, but have an amazing time in Miami once again, watching the Vegas game. Vegas? It is Vegas. Yep. The Raiders. I'm so jealous of you. But I might get you to bring me something back from your trip there. So, yep, you'll have to come back on after the game to tell us how amazing it was. And yeah, we shall see you on the next one. Peace.